Well, hello again. This is Ray Morales for The Blind Spot, and today my guest is a old friend of mine, and his name is Steve Baskis. Steve, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me, Ray.
Hey, no problem. You're welcome anytime. Yeah, Steve is a friend of the show, and he's been on a couple of times already. And Steve, just catch us up on what you've been doing lately.
Well, I'm traveling as usual. I'm all over the place.
Right?
My girlfriend, she's a flight attendant, so that's added even more travel to my
Oh, wow.
schedule.
Free
So,
flights.
she, exactly. It's a nice perk. It's a nice perk.
Yeah.
Um, but with her, I was in Tahiti not too long ago. I'd never been to the South Pacific,
Oh,
and
awesome.
that was an interesting experience. If for people who've never been to Tahiti, maybe they've been to Hawaii, had a very similar kind of feel and vibe. French Polynesia, so there's a lot of
Right.
French-speaking people in Tahiti. But I've been up to the normal kind of things, climbing here and there, and here in Colorado where I live. I live in
Hmm.
Western Colorado in a town called Montrose. It's about 4.5 hours from Denver, Colorado. But
Hmm.
yeah, I've been climbing in the mountains a little bit. I've been doing a little bit of sailing. The sailing's kind of dropped off a bit, but when I go to sail, I usually sail out of Newport, Rhode Island,
Uh-huh.
and been working with the team for the past, 3, 4 years out there, trying to develop technology to help someone like myself who is blind navigate and drive a sailboat in races and on the ocean. So that's been a big part of my life the past few years. I'm still pushing to learn how to be a better musician and record audio and music.
Yeah.
As you know, Ray, I help the BVA with the podcast, and I handle a few other podcasts. I have a personal podcast, but I don't keep up to date with it as much. But I'm constantly helping people. I mentor people online, especially with accessible music and technology that helps musicians. And so there's a bunch more, but I mean that's a good amount of stuff that that I'm involved with.
Well, remind my listeners, if you would, how you became blind.
Absolutely. So I'm a U.S. Army infantryman. I I I went through Fort Benning, Georgia for my basic and my it was a one station unit training. All my basic and advanced training was in the same place, and I ended up at Fort Hood, Texas, as my first duty station. And while there, uh, they were, S1. I was in admin. They were sorting everybody to go to their different units,
Hmm.
and a staff sergeant in the S3 shop in operations said, "I like you, Baskis. You're going to work with me." And I was like, "What's S3?" Staff sergeant. And and I learned, what operations was, uh, and while in that shop, I overheard some officers speaking about a unit they were standing up. It was the Command Personal Security Detachment for the 4th Infantry Division. So I was attached, I was part of the 4th Infantry Division at the time. Um, and I volunteered for this PSD, this personal security detail that was being stood up. And they were slated to leave pretty soon to go to Iraq, to Baghdad. And this was in
Wow.
2007. And I had just left basic training. I had gone, the first half of the year I was in basic. The second half of the year I spent doing specialized training with contractors on Fort Hood, Texas. Some of the guys, some of us went to Quantico and did offensive, defensive, like motorcade driving with up
Right.
armored vehicles and SUVs. And we learned everything about how to move with a high value, someone that would be considered a high value target, a principal,
Right.
like the general officer that we were tasked to protect. And so my platoon, which was composed of a number of squads, each one of the squads was dedicated to a leader. We had a few generals, General Hammond, General Grimsley, General Milano, and a division command sergeant major Goya. And my team was tasked with protecting General Mike Milano. He's retired now. He's a Major General Mike Milano. He sits on my board for my small nonprofit,
And
Blind
what's the name of
Endeavors
that?
Foundation. It's called Blind Endeavors Foundation. And just quickly about that, I help serve blind veterans and low vision veterans in the sense of getting them out moving, and also more lately I've been involved with just trying to put more information out on the internet through podcasts, through posts, and like I said, mentoring, just trying to help people with their daily life tasks and technology, as well as their passions, like maybe it's exercise or climbing or hiking or paddling, whatever it might be. But going back to the story of serving, I deployed with this unit to Iraq in it was late 2007, around November to Iraq. We did some training in Kuwait for about a month or two in the desert. And then we deployed to Baghdad, to the capital, to Multinational Division Forces HQ, MNDF HQ, which was there at Liberty, Slayer, Victory, all those bases that were next to Baghdad International Airport. And immediately after getting there, we started doing our side by side with the unit that was on the ground, who was protecting their general. It was the First Cavalry Division. Um, they're different leaders and general, and so we were learning the ropes and getting used to rolling out in the sector and doing our operations. And every day we'd roll out. We did over 300, I think, operations by the time at the point in which I was wounded or injured. And I could give you a tour of Baghdad and that part of Iraq, in and around the city of Baghdad and all of Baghdad. I mean, every corner of Baghdad, and to all these different palaces, water treatment facilities, power plants, vocational schools, just waste like dumps and stuff like that, like
Right,
everything that was reconstruction, like considered reconstruction projects, to morale visits to small like coalition outposts and forward operating bases.
right.
And so we were the general's most inner security. We were his closest, team. We always had sister units that were on the ground that were working, in their different parts. And all across Iraq, we had different units and divisions.
Right.
And so we would work with them when we brought the general, to those areas, when we escorted him. And so on May 13th, 2008, my unit left our base, Camp Liberty, there near Baghdad International Airport, and we drove to the heart of Baghdad and then northbound to a place called it's an air base camp. It was Air Base Taji or Camp Taji, if I recall. And uh, the first half of the operation went well. On our return in the evening and later in the day, it's a long drive. It's a pretty long long day because of traffic. I mean, for to give people perspective, Baghdad is like a city like New York. Very
Oh,
busy.
wow.
There's a lot of traffic in some parts of the city, and there's some parts of the city that are just that at that point, because of the war, was totally isolated, maybe desolate. Just not much going on in some parts of the
Right.
city. But we were on this main highway coming southbound down into Baghdad. If I remember correctly, the route was called Route Senators. We had all these code names for the routes,
Hmm.
and we entered the city, and the enemy had set up an EFP, an explosively formed projectile or penetrator. It was a type of IED, a
Okay.
shape charge on the side of the road, and they had strung out some line. It was command wire detonated, meaning someone was physically ready to push a button, and they had spotters, and I
Okay, so it
presume, and
wasn't like a landmine or anything.
wasn't a
It could be
landmine in the sense of like a pressure plate or something,
right.
like that.
Yeah.
You apply pressure or walk over,
So
but it
someone had to
was
physically be within sight to set
yeah.
it
They
off.
were hiding. They were hiding. From everything I've was just, unfortunately, I've received most of this information from my buddies who survived,
Uh-huh.
and the people that I served with, from different conversations after I was wounded and returned
Right.
home, because I was pretty much out of the game, when this device detonated. It detonated next to our MRAP. We were in this mine-resistant, ambush-protected, armored vehicle. International puts like a inline eight-cylinder motor and some sort of inline, a big engine, diesel engine,
Right.
and so we got to this area just on the edge of the city. Just after we entered the city, it was close to the edge of the city, and this bomb detonated. We were the lead vehicle. My truck. Usually, we would have the general's aide, who was a captain.
Uh-huh.
We'd have an interpreter. Uh, then we'd have my the tactical commander, my buddy in the hot seat, in the lead seat on my
Right.
right. I was driving that day, and my buddy Hartley was gunning. Uh, I actually had flipped a coin with him, and I should have been gunning, but because he was not a really good driver, I ended up driving that day. So he had hit something the week before on the road, and my squad leader didn't want him driving. So he's Baskis, you should drive. So I was driving that day, and all of us were in the vehicle. The captain wasn't. The captain. So just to give people perspective, like sometimes when we rolled out on mission, you know, the general needed to be somewhere, and they needed to be somewhere on the ground quickly. So he might be in the trucks that day, in
Right.
the Humvees. But we always had an air component, or different kinds of air components that were available, especially if we were going further away. And he had the option to fly if he needed to get somewhere quickly, or
Right.
just if it was safer. But we'd always have a ground component and an air component, so that if he had a problem, we could pick him up, on the ground somewhere, or he could be airlifted somewhere. And
Right.
that day, he didn't return with us. We had When we left our base that morning, he rode with us in the trucks, but we were returning without him in the trucks back to our base. He was going to fly back,
He didn't
and
like your driving, basically.
exactly right. That's a good one. But you know the thing is it's so interesting thinking back on the day, and you drive down these routes, and you're scanning the horizon, you're scanning, you're looking at all the debris and the trash and the damage on the
Hmm.
roads. I mean, for people listening, you know, the roads in Baghdad, these highways and small roads were severely damaged, from pop marks
Right.
from artillery and mortars and these old Russian munitions, Katyusha rockets hitting the ground and detonating, or not detonating sometimes, because of the warheads were not in the in the weapon systems. But there was all kinds of damaged bridges, and you know, if you can imagine driving down the road as a soldier, everybody's trying to keep their head on a swivel and make
Right. You're
sure
hyper
they're
vigilant.
hyper vigilant, exactly, and looking for anything that looks suspicious, in the sense of
Right.
spotters or people, with binoculars, or telephones on a tower or on a building top, to people hiding in the brush, or
Hmm.
whatever. Uh, and there's just so much to keep track of. Okay, it's really, especially when you're worried about these types of IEDs, these
Right.
improvised explosive devices, and you just really can't. You just have to hope and pray and cross your fingers, and hold your breath sometimes when you pass through we call them fatal funnels, these
Right.
areas where we have to go through. There's really no other way around it, and the first vehicle through is the test bed, I mean, at the end
Yeah.
of the day. And so it we came to this section of the highway, and there were civilians on the road, and they uh they were just living their life. They were like going to work or going wherever they were going. A lot of times a dead giveaway was if there was a bunch of people on a like a in a market or on the road, and then they all decided to like leave because we came in the area.
Hmm.
It just kind of made you wonder, like, what's going on? Is like, are they informed in some
Right.
fashion or manner? We should be on maybe a more high alert, and but the road seemed, from my memory, it didn't nothing seemed strange, but there was something hidden, like I explained, deep
Right.
in like a culvert down in this really green, lush area, because wherever there's water and there was a canal along the road, it's very lush and oasis-like in a
Right.
desert, especially like Iraq. Um, and that that explosive device detonated, and it killed my buddy, Staff Sergeant Victor Cota. He died next to me. It struck the side of our vehicle because of the type of explosive device it was, and
Hmm.
it punched a hole in the vehicle. And that damaged door, the fragments from the door, and the actual projectile entered the vehicle and spewed, through the interior, and injured most of us. Everybody was hit with some sort of shrapnel fragments, metal. And My buddy Victor suffered traumatic, injury immediately.
Hmm.
I suffered all kinds of injuries to my neck, head, arms, and legs. I had an artery severed and vascular nerve damage in my left arm. I had bleeding on my brain, a subdural hematoma, and
Right.
I had damage to my sinuses, my eyes, and so I was really knocked unconscious. I came to, but my buddies, they saved my life that day, and the doc, my medic, and my team escorted me to another vehicle while they were dealing with other problems that they were worried about, and then we rushed to a smaller outpost. Not too far away. 101st Airborne was their area of operation, was not in that region, and we waited for a medevac, some Black Hawk helicopters to come and get me, and another one to come and take Victor and his body elsewhere. So uh, that was the 13th of May, 2008. It's been 17 years this year. I've been blind. I'm completely blind. I have no light perception. I have no feeling really in my left hand, and I can't use my fingers really well. Uh, Thankfully, all the other injuries to my body were not so severe, and I don't have any like problems to my abdomen or my major, the important organs of the body.
Right.
But I'm thankful to be alive, and I've been able to accomplish a lot of great things because of great people, and I know people like to remind me that it's me too. It's my personality, my attitude, but definitely it's teamwork. Has helped me over the years.
Right. And there are a few people along the way that really helped you gain perspective about your
Yes.
injuries, right?
Oh yeah. Oh, many there. When I awoke in blind not in blind rehab, but at Walter Reed before I
Uh-huh.
went to blind rehab, I had fellow blind veterans who worked for the Blind Veterans Association, and
Right.
we're just veterans in general, but who came to my bedside, and they explained to me what I should think about and consider, in the sense of like trying to become independent again, and learning about how to live life properly as a blind, live a full and free and independent life as much as
Right.
possible. Um, and so they advocated and influenced me to go to blind rehab because I could have just chosen easily to return home to my family.
Hmm.
And my family, to be honest, a lot of people, not just my family, my friends, they don't really have any idea what blindness is, how to work with someone who's blind or visually impaired.
Right.
Now they do because I've learned how to live life through blind rehabilitation, which the VA offers. There's 13 blind rehabilitation centers in the
Right.
United States.
Hmm.
I believe 12 of them are in the lower 48, and one of them's in Puerto Rico. And
Correct.
so all veterans are the honorably discharged veterans who are part of the VA system. They are eligible, if they have problems with their sight, uh, to go to these facilities and learn. And
Right.
so I did, and that was because of blind veterans that came to my bedside early on, because I would have just went home, honestly, because I didn't know, I mean, if I didn't have guidance, your loved ones, your family, that's where you would go. And that puts a lot of pressure on them, thinking about it now, and what I've learned and who all the people I've talked to, and
Hmm.
because I've met plenty of veterans that made those kinds of choices.
Right. Well, you and I had talked a while back about our situations and how they're similar yet different, And I had never met a blind person in my life prior to me becoming visually impaired. And to remind the folks at home, I am not totally blind like Steve. Um, my vision, I do have some vision. It's just not total vision like it used to be. But I'd never met a blind person before in my life. And for me, this was all brand new. And I'm sure it was brand new to you too at one time, right?
Oh, the people that came to my bedside were really
Yeah.
the first people I truly had some sort of relationship or interaction, like meaningful interaction, that were blind. I jokingly say, and a buddy of mine says it too, Travis, he that I was the first blind person I ever met because because I really growing up, yeah, I saw, someone with a cane, uh, but none of my classes, and I went to a lot of schools. I grew up all over the country,
Right.
had someone that was blind in it. And I never really had a friend like or someone that I grew up with that taught me a little, like gave me that
Right.
experience of someone who's blind or visually impaired and the tools and techniques, the braille, whatever they use. I didn't really have that in my life till I had those veterans who came to my bedside after I had already lost my sight. So
Hmm.
just like you're explaining, I really had no idea I was blind to the world of blindness. So it was just a brand new experience for me and to meet others with. But it was good to meet those people because
Yeah.
maybe that's what you're getting at. It taught me about other resources and things,
Exactly.
techniques,
Yeah.
that we can use.
Yeah. There's, as you're a service member, you have a certain camaraderie with your fellow veterans or fellow servicemen. And then to be in the blind community, it's more of a camaraderie, I think, because you have more in common with those people, and it just helps you draw closer and gives you a closer bond with them. You agree?
I agree.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, a lot of my good friend, it's funny. I have plenty of just friends who are able-bodied, who have their
Uh-huh.
vision, their sight, but a lot of my strong bonds and good friendships that carry on still now are people who have a similar lived experience, and are
Right,
blind or
right.
visually impaired.
Yeah, it's a special kind of brotherhood, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I absolutely think so. And I often think about everything that I have learned and gained from my
Hmm.
loss. And it's even though I lost something, I've gained so much in another realm, another domain.
Right.
And I think I don't know if I'd ever want to change that completely. I wish I could see, but I wouldn't want to erase the history, the
Exactly.
friendships, the bonds that I've made,
Same here. So let's move on. Tell me more about, let's go into your music. What kind of
Yeah.
music do you do?
Well, I grew up, I've grown and loved music, my entire life.
Hmm.
I think at a young age, my father would play records, and he would hold my hands and tap to the rhythm, to the beat of music. And he played the guitar and played a few things and encouraged my brothers and I when we were growing. As young adults and kids to play instruments, to try to pick up instruments and practice and play.
Hmm.
We were never pressured, and I never really had any like formal lessons. But I stuck with it most of my life, and I'm primarily I would call myself a drummer. But just in the last few years, I've been focusing on relearning how to play the guitar because my left hand injury has prevented me from playing a guitar with my right hand. So I'm trying to develop some assistive devices to help my left hand strum, and I'll play the fretboard with my right hand. So I'll be playing a
Hmm.
left-handed guitar really
Right.
instead of a right-handed guitar. And so I've been playing the bass guitar. I play the drums. I play the piano. But the music that's inspired me my entire life I mean, my father, going back to it, he'd play music. There's a lot of classic rock. I mean,
Hmm.
everything from the 70s, and the 60s. But I grew up, with the oldies, oldies is a
Right.
different thing even today. Now I'm 40 years old this year. I was 22 when I lost my sight. It seems like yesterday,
Yeah.
but yeah, I love everything from like Frank Sinatra to electronic music, orchestral music. I mean,
Hmm.
symphonic, kind of music.
Right.
Anything like, Hans Zimmer, who made
Oh,
the
yeah.
I'm drawing a blank. He's done all the
Oh,
famous John.
John Williams.
Williams, yeah, John Williams, all the major movies, like Star Wars and
Hmm.
that I'm very interested in scoring music, to film. And in this day and age, uh, a person like yourself or anybody that's blind or visually impaired, we have if you like music, if you love and you want to try to write music or compose music, so it's so possible. It's easily attainable and
It's
at our
at our
fingertips.
fingertips, actually.
Exactly. We can
If you can
and mu
type on a keyboard, you can
yes,
do music.
yes. And and working with a computer, basically,
Right.
and what is known as a MIDI controller, like a little
Right.
piano that you connect to the computer. And so, I mean, but yeah, I mean, Dire Straits, CCR,
Oh,
Clear
yeah.
Creedence Revival.
Right.
I mean, Leonard Skinner, Jackson Brown, Elton
Oh, you're
John,
speaking my language, man.
AC/DC, I mean, Van Halen, I mean, all kinds
Oh,
of
yeah.
things. I love all these bands, plus, those are probably some, those and many others are my what I really grew up on. I mean, even the Beatles, these kinds of bands were so they're tied to my everyday life, as a
Right.
child and a young adult. Uh, Music brings back memories. So,
Sure.
and I think it's also therapeutic for me, even though I'm trying to, my whole life growing up, I told you, I kind of self-taught. So
Hmm.
even the piano, like I've been teaching myself the piano more than I ever did, like as a sighted person. I've been focusing on music theory because I'm working on trying to understand music on a whole nother level so that I can help produce other musicians and help record them and so I've built my own home recording studio and I have a small business and a small office that also has a bunch of equipment and gear and I'm
Hmm.
slowly trying to learn what it takes to build this type of business and to do things like podcasts and interviews and
Right.
production work and also to inject music and sound effects and those kinds of things. And I'm just starting is how I look at it, Ray. And
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer. You're always learning. You never stop learning, and I have a lot to learn. And I'm excited to continue down the road. And someday I'll be able to share music with you and your listeners and everybody.
Well, let's hope
But
so. Yeah.
but all genres of music I'm interested in. So, but rock definitely is a favorite of mine. So,
Okay. Cool. I guess I should have just asked you what's on your playlist,
yeah, yeah,
and that
yeah.
could have led into this conversation. So Blind Endeavors. I'm really interested in what Blind Endeavors is all about. Tell my listeners what they're about.
You know, Blind Endeavors was a name for a book that I've yet to write. Everybody tells me I should write a book about my life and about what I've overcome. Just everybody, who has a traumatic change and then they deal with it in a positive way and they rebuild their
Hmm.
life should tell their story. I believe, and I know so many as you do, Ray, people that have amazing stories of trials and tribulations and
And that's why I
overcoming.
started this podcast.
I understand. I
Yeah.
telling helping tell people stories is rewarding. Plus, you are helping the world. You're helping people. So I commend you, Ray. And I try to do the same thing.
Hmm.
Um, whether I do it through media or when I spend time with people in the airport or I'm like strangers, I'm telling people stories all the time.
Right.
So, and because that's how we learn about life and how to make better decisions and and how to
Right.
find fun things to do.
And I'll tell you on a
And
side note, guys that are listening, this guy here, just hanging out with him in public, not only does he draw attention just from his physicality, he's he's pretty strong guy. I mean, he doesn't look like just sitting there in that chair, but yeah, he's very well fit, and people notice him. He stands out in the crowd, and then with his shades and his cane, that also draws attention.
yeah,
And people come over to him, and he's not afraid. He'll talk to them. They can ask any question they want, and he'll answer them. Right, Steve?
absolutely, Ray.
Yeah.
But
So
to
back to
go
Blind Endeavors. Yeah,
back
I'm
to the
sorry.
foundation. No, no, no,
Yeah.
you're fine. I appreciate it. Thank you for the kind words, Ray. Um, the foundation, though, I gave it that name because sometimes I find in life we don't know where we're going. We're like on
Hmm.
a blind endeavor.
Right.
We're on a path not really well traveled, and so to endeavor is to try hard. It really is one of the meanings of the word. Um, and so challenges can bring good and bad out in people.
Hmm.
And I realized when I lost my eyesight and I was laying in the hospital bed and thinking about my life and the decisions I made that brought me to that point, that kind of carried me to that time in my life. I was thinking about my drive, my motivation to want to serve in the military. Because at the time, I didn't have to. I mean, I chose to join the military because I lived in New York, and just like a lot of people, when the towers fell September of 2001, 9/11, I had families and friends that I knew that were directly affected because I lived about 30 minutes from New York City on Long
Hmm.
Island, and I was, I decided to serve, because my family had a legacy and we
Right.
had this horrible thing that happened. But when you're laying in the hospital bed and you're thinking about, oh, all these things that drove you to make a decision that to pursue something that was dangerous, like volunteering to serve in the armed forces in the
Right.
U.S. Army to go and fight in a war on the other side of the planet. Like people will ask you, I've had all kinds of people ask me, on college campuses, like someone that's not maybe into the military or
Hmm.
interested. I've had people ask me like, why would you do what you did? Why was that important to you? Why did you choose to do that? And everybody has their own, just choices. But where I'm going with this is these kinds of thoughts came to my mind, as I was laying there in the hospital bed, and I remembered my passion, my drive for wanting to pursue something specific in the military because I wanted to be there for people. I wanted to be an asset and a resource. I wanted to be able to help others, whether they were people on the battlefield that were indigenous, the indigenous
Hmm.
population, or that were innocent lives, or if they were my battle buddies, that I was serving
Right.
next to, and I used that to drive myself to think more positively about my rehab, my recovery.
Hmm.
And I realized that, well, I need to make my foundation, my body, my mind, and strong again. So what can I do? Well, I should pursue this physical therapy and this occupational therapy that the Walter Reed, specialists and doctors were recommending. And from there, I started hearing more about adaptive athletics or this concept
Right.
of adaptive athletics and recreation became a real thing. Something, I grew up, played football, baseball, basketball, soccer, all these things, but to pursue something with, a hand disability and no sight requires different things and different
Right.
kinds of help and teamwork. And so, as I was growing and learning about these things, it became my philosophy. My absolute um, path and curriculum. So I wanted to rebuild my life and my strength and my goals of pursuing trying to attain or live a great life. And so when we think of my foundation, I'm long-winded, but I like to explain things deeply. Uh, these this pursuit of fitness and recreation helped me become stronger, which in turn made my mind stronger, and I made along the way I made friends who gave me more information and more based on their path and journey through
Hmm.
life and their what they overcame, and that helped me become even stronger. And this idea of wanting to build something that replicates that is what the foundation is. The
Okay.
foundation is supposed to teach through mentorship and through uh, uh, giving people experiences. Like last year, we did a Tough Mudder, an obstacle course race. I brought out blind veterans, and we used a junior ROTC unit that was local in the Colorado Springs area to go and do this race. These young leaders who are hoping to be in the military, hoping to go and become officers, they led blind veterans who served the country. So you have a bit of new and old, in the sense of service to the country,
Hmm.
and it was such a cool experience in the sense of leadership. And the kids, the junior ROTC cadets learned about what it means to serve and how to, from different service members, and they learned a
Hmm.
lot about blindness, because that's what I want to do with the foundation too, is expose people who don't know anything like I once did. I
Yeah.
didn't know a thing about blindness or visual impairments and
Right.
veterans. I'm doing all of that with the foundation, but we're a small nonprofit. My foundation is small, and we act on things like in a grassroots kind of way. If
Right.
people are interested in building, like if I have people come to me and they go, "Oh, I want to do this," I try to build something around that and rally. And hopefully here actually in the near future, I'm hoping to do something, a program called like Move and Groove, where I get people to come out here to where I live, my neck of the woods, Western
Hmm.
Colorado, and I get them doing some sort of adaptive recreation. But at the same time, I introduce them to accessible technology that will help them make music or record
Right.
audio, and they can see what a professional recording studio is like,
Hmm.
in the sense of access from the accessible standpoint and the
Right.
blind and visually impaired standpoint. So the foundation is meant to spread awareness. It's meant to get people, challenge people physically, but to teach them that there is still a lot of life ahead and to give them encouragement to drive ahead
And
and
not
live
give
a
up.
better life and not give up. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Because I, through my many years of doing this podcast, interviewing hundreds of veterans, that I've come across some that would just rather sit back and give up on life
Yeah.
instead of getting back in the game, And that's really sad to me, that there's so much out there that they just don't see it, literally.
No, it's
Um,
true. It
yeah.
is sad. And we all are susceptible. We're
Oh yeah.
not
I've
immune,
I've had my days, back in when I first encountered this condition that I have. Um, and it was some dark days, really.
Yeah,
But you pull yourself up and you get on.
exactly. You try, and
Yeah.
the way you do that is you don't hide away on your own.
No.
It's really hard. You get locked in your own brain and your own mind and your own rigid like thought process. It's important to go, as you know, Ray, and it's so much fun to find a community that understands you, that
Hmm.
speaks the same language, that can give you advice and information. If you
Right.
and what I'm speaking about the blind, visually impaired community, whether they're civilians or veterans, you find that, and it breaks you out of this box, this shell that you're in,
Yeah.
this island that you're stuck on, because that's what
Right.
blindness makes you feel like. Oh, I feel alone. I feel I don't know anybody in my neighborhood that's blind. I can't
Right.
go and ask them, and so going to these kinds of events like what my foundation does or what other organizations do is
Hmm.
really an important thing for people to understand when they're in that dark place and they don't want to socialize with they're tired and they and
Right.
worn out and they're anxious and they're scared of their loss of sight. But the worst thing you can do is just close yourself away, in my opinion. You need to try to
Well, I
meet
agree.
people.
I
Yeah.
agree 100%. And that's why I try to get out as much as I can. It's hard for me too because I'm on a limited income and
Yeah.
I can't do everything I want to do because it costs a lot of money to go fly to different places and
Yes.
participate in these events. Now, some of
Especially in
my
this
friends
economy.
they're more well off because they're 100% disabled and it's service connected and they get help from the VA. So they had a lot of money that'll help them pay for it.
You bring up
I
a
am
good
not
point.
service connected.
Yeah.
So
It's
go ahead.
it's no, it's challenging and we all dedicated our lives to serving. And
Hmm.
it's interesting, this is a whole another show, Ray, talking about this kind of concept and this like thing, but the VA and ratings and how people how because there's all kinds of people that listen to your podcast, but
Hmm.
sometimes people just don't understand, even service members themselves don't understand what they're eligible for, and
Right.
but you bring up a good point, if you can find programs and organizations that have grants or things that allow for you to, allow mobility, allow you to travel and lighten the expense or cover the entire expense, it is freeing. it's nice though that we can get on technology and though and talk to people too still. There's you're
Right,
building this community, uh and have a community where people are trying to come together and talk about their lives and their challenges and help each other.
right. Well, let's see. What else can we talk about now, Steve?
I don't know, I I love technology. I know you've asked me to help with something here soon,
Right.
and I don't I don't talk technology too much with people. It's with my blind counterparts too much, except when I come to like a convention or an event where I'm
Right.
around other blind veterans. But I don't know. Is there something that is excites you about the technology that's coming out nowadays that you've tried recently? I
Oh
mean,
yeah, there's
I'm
all
just
kinds of
wondering.
things out there. Yeah. Every day it seems like somebody's putting a new twist on something that we already have. Um, just like the meta glasses.
Yes,
I don't own a pair, but I hear that there's another one coming out that's supposed to be even better than the meta glasses. So I'm excited to see and try all these. There's a guy out there that does a podcast that's called The Blind Life.
I met him, Sam
Yeah,
Seavey.
Sam CVS.
I
And
know him. Yeah.
I'm trying to get him to be on my show, but he hasn't. He's a very busy guy. So
Yeah.
we'll leave it
Well,
at
I'll try
that.
to call him. I got his phone number. I've
Okay,
hung
yeah,
out with him at a few conventions in California,
cool.
but
Put in a good word for me and
maybe I
try
can
and get him.
influence him to get on your show, Ben.
I'd like that. Yeah. But
I'll try.
yeah, I mean, he's he kind of gets the products and he gives a good review on everyone, the
He
newest and the
does.
latest and greatest. So, yeah, I think someday I'd like to try doing that um,
Most
and see
definitely.
how that goes. But anyhow,
For
that's
me,
go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah. Well, I'm quite interested and maybe some people are not because of their fear of something because they don't understand it. But and there's a lot to fear, when it comes to technology. I mean, technology, we develop nuclear weapon systems with technology and
Right.
information and knowledge, but artificial intelligence and
Yeah,
the
that's a
like
big one.
systems like ChatGPT,
Hmm.
these large language models, I'm using more and more, and just machine vision and different kinds of these products that are going to give us more perspective of the world.
Right.
Just to give your listeners an example is you know, for a while now, there's of course been stuff like optical character recognition. You can take a
Hmm.
picture of some text and it'll read it line by line from the top left all the way to the bottom right of a
Right.
document. Okay. What like artificial intelligence or, a large language model like ChatGPT will do is it will, instead of you having to listen to every word on some document that's been scanned with OCR, you can ask questions and get to the meat of what you are looking for, which is more
Right.
close to how the world works when you can see. When you look at a menu, you can move, when you have your eyes, you can go right to what you need, because you can scan. But when you're blind, the only way you know what's on the page you're looking at and with using accessible technology like a screen reader is to listen to the entire page. There's
Right.
no other way really. I mean, you just can use tools to keyword and search, but that's what this is. Like when I'm talking about. So these forms of AI and stuff they're great. They're amazing, and I think people are going to realize that it's going to revolutionize and change if they haven't already the world around us. Just like you were talking about the meta glasses, those
Right.
are the future. It is the future of for blind people to give us more freedom, more real time information about our surroundings, and
Right.
it's amazing. It's amazing. I'm excited. I joke all the time that I lost my sight in the best at the best time in history.
Right.
Yeah, but yes, that's I just wanted to say that, right?
Oh, good. It's amazing every day. There's new inventions coming out. There's like I just did an interview with the guy about the smart cane. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Oh, we walk, yeah, or
Yeah,
which one?
WeWalk smart
Yeah.
cane. And this is a version number 2 now. It has a GPS integrated in it. It's lighter and it's got a better look. It looks more like a real cane now, or a regular walking cane. I mean,
Yes,
regular blind cane. And it's just it's amazing all the technology they can fit in the handle of that cane.
I've
And
messed with it. Yeah,
you have the new one?
yeah, I
Yeah.
have Joe, right? I think is his name.
Right.
I can't remember, but
Joe Alfonso. Yeah.
yeah, I've met him many times on the floor of convention centers all over the country, in Dallas and
Oh, okay.
Florida and California, and I'm always messing with technology like that. Just
Hmm.
like maybe you've heard of Glide or Glidance,
Yeah. Glidance. Glidance.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Though it's similar kind of. That's a more advanced, wild, like kind of like a guide dog, but it's a
Yeah.
robot.
Well, it reminds me of one of those push toys I had as a kid. It was on a
Exactly. Yeah.
stick and it had that roller, the little ball with the popcorn in it.
Yep, I know what you're
Yeah.
I can't remember what that's called, that toy, but
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about because
Yeah.
I think I had one too.
Yeah. It had those little balls that pop up.
Yep,
Yeah.
as you
And
pushed it around.
yeah. And but that's
No,
what it's like. It's on a handle and it's got little wheels on it. And
but
yeah,
these
like
tech,
a
yeah,
guide
yeah,
dog,
yeah,
you said.
yeah. It is. It it guides you because it has all these motors and servos that
Right.
are reacting to because of sensors detecting
Hmm.
objects, and it's a pretty amazing device. I mean, is it necessary? I
For
mean,
some people.
for some people, yeah. I think that's the key thing. It's just cool that there's clever ingenuity, like ingenuity and people out there, coming together to try to think about how to
Right.
solve problems, and it
And
all
there's
leads us to something.
right. And there's no one fix for everybody because everybody's blindness is different.
Or they have multiple injuries like myself. If I have a
Exactly. Yeah.
hand injury, I use just one hand to work on the computer a lot of times. I have one finger that I use on my other hand that really helps with the shortcuts to keep, but
Uh-huh.
people don't even think about that. They don't even, because they don't see the hand injury,
Right.
unless I start doing something with my hand, then they notice something's wrong. But um, yeah, no, it's hard to create universal accessibility, but we should
Yeah.
always strive for it. We should always
Exactly.
try really hard to find ways to solve problems for people.
And I'm trying to think now of um I know a couple of guys, and you probably know them too. Zach Tidwell's one, and he
Yes,
does a lot of software engineering.
yes,
And but I think that there are people out there every day, like I said, they're coming up with great ideas, and then they're trying to implement them into making software or making a product that can be of service to all the blind community.
yes,
And I
yes.
applaud those people. I take my hat off to them.
We should celebrate them and champion
Right,
what their efforts. Absolutely.
right. So anyway, let's get on to more of your qualifications or your bio that I was telling you about earlier.
You know, I guess I could talk about the one thing that I kind of truly enjoy and love, and that is mountaineering and
Uh-huh.
climbing. Uh, for people who don't know what mountaineering is, it's really playing on a mountain. It's hiking on a mountain, but
Right.
trying to get to the top of mountains generally, trying to push to summits, to the highest part of a mountain.
Hmm.
And there are many ways up a mountain. And it's a huge metaphor, in life, to
Right.
climb mountains, to 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 go on these types of journeys, to start in valleys, low, um, uh, from the mountain, uh, it is epic. It's an epic journey, and to do it blind, it's a tedious, like tedious, and it can be very anxious. And there could be a lot of anxiety and a lot of fear
Hmm.
of what you might encounter.
Right.
But I've truly enjoyed my adventures around the world. I've climbed on every continent except Antarctica and on mountains well above 20,000 feet all over the world. And to give people perspective, the tallest mountains in the lower 48 states are 14,000 feet. So when you go to Colorado and you look at those 14,000-foot peaks, I've climbed mountains that are 20,000 above. So
Hmm.
uh, they're big, and they make you feel insignificant.
Right.
And it puts you in your place. And I find you know, it can be fun, and it can, when you hear me talk about it, sometimes people think of adrenaline junkie, full on crazy, wild, climbing. But really, you can go into the mountains and be very safe and enjoy a hike on a big mountain, and it can be a beautiful experience and nothing crazy and too challenging. There's all types of paths and ways to the tops of mountains, and there are all types of mountains in the world: dome-shaped mountains, pyramid-shaped mountains, all kinds of volcanoes that are concaved at the top because of a
Right.
caldera, and these kinds of journeys to different parts of the world give you language, cuisine, new places to visit, new things to touch, new sounds, and the sense of wildlife. It's an amazing experience. And I talk about, people think about Steve and they think about his adventures and maybe, mountain climbing, but really it's therapy for me. I love just being outside, and I love, feeling the sun bake the rocks, and, you can sit on the
Right.
rocks and hear a stream, a babbling creek, or, like it's not always about being hanging on the side of a cliff. So I want people to understand that. Maybe I don't say that enough. Internally, that's what I know and feel and think. But I think, people can focus on certain things in life when people are talking about mountains or climbing, and really climbing mountains is, there's a journey to the top, and then if people think about it deeply, there's also the journey back home,
Right.
because
You got
you
to
can't
come
you can't
down.
you can't talk about you can't tell your story if you don't return home.
Right.
So it's yeah, I thought I'd share a little bit.
Have
But
you ever
mountain,
climbed Everest?
I have been near Everest, and I've climbed mountains right by Everest, but not
Okay.
on Everest. Yep.
Okay.
I've had the offer a couple times. I've turned it down because I'm pretty picky about the teams I want to
Uh-huh.
climb with. I've climbed four of the seven summits. So
Okay.
four of the seven tallest peaks on the seven continents. My buddy Lonnie has climbed all seven.
Right.
Yeah, he just
He
completed
just
that.
finished. Yeah.
And he'll tell you that I motivated him to do that. And he motivated me to paddle, to kayak, because I
Right.
kayaked the entire Colorado River with him through the Grand Canyon. So we both influenced each other. And we were supposed to do the seven summits together. I had already started, and
Hmm.
I've changed. My philosophy's changed. Those mountains are so incorporated. You've probably heard about people standing in lines. I'm not so interested in climbing mountains where there are people standing in lines to try to do stuff. I,
Right.
I commend Lonnie for what he did, and there's nothing shortcoming in the sense of what he accomplished. There's no shortcomings or small, things in the sense of that kind of endeavor and challenge. But there's a lot of mountains in the world that people don't even know about that are very difficult to climb. Everest is not technically the most challenging mountain in the world to climb. It's just the tallest mountain in the world. So,
Right.
but it is definitely a challenge. And uh, Nepal is, if you ever get the chance to hike up the valley, you fly into Kathmandu and you work up the valley. It's the Khumbu Valley, and you can walk it just like walk in a hotel or all the way up. It's just a trail all the way up to those mountains. It's just you stay in these tea houses in these villages, and
Hmm.
you meet all kinds of people from all over the world. And you don't have to climb a mountain at all. You just walk up the valley. It's people do it all the time. More and more. So if people ever get the chance, to adventure in a light way, not a crazy like pushing the limits. You can just
Right.
go on a hike and stand next to those colossal mountains. So
Right.
I hope people will pursue maybe something like that someday that are listening.
So tell us a little bit about the Grand Canyon adventure. I'd like to know more about that.
Well, the Grand Canyon, for people who have never stood on the edge of the Grand Canyon and like gaze down in it, it's a massive chasm in the
Hmm.
earth. And you're basically looking back in time. It's a bunch of sedimentary rock, strata, all these different layers of rock. It's an ancient seabed, really, and
Right.
I love geology, and you know, paddling, in your own river kayak in a hard shell, like I'm in a cockpit style river kayak where you sit deep in this boat that surrounds you, and you put a
Hmm.
skirt on the top of where the tunnel where you come through and you sit, and
To
you
keep
have
most
these
of the
thought
water out, right?
it keeps the water out. Exactly. I think Inuits like Eskimo and other kinds of cultures would actually seal themselves, kind of like sew themselves into these kinds of boats that they designed out of seal, I think, skin and stuff, and they would go and fish. And if they, to protect them, if they were to flip over, they would be in this type of kind of boat. And they
Right.
could use a technique called, to roll with the paddle, an Eskimo roll. There's different names, terms for these kinds of rolls. And you use this technique to right yourself, so you basically cannot sink. And so, I learned those techniques, all those types of techniques called like bracing and paddle strokes, and like a combat roll, like rolling in moving water on in white water, like on a river, like the Colorado River that runs through the
Hmm.
Grand Canyon, and it's 226 miles. That's how long the adventure was, over 11 days. Our particular trip was 11 days. And you paddle through all these huge rapids, and then in between it's tranquil and calm. But you get to these rapids, and I had guides. I had three guides, one a main guide, a sweep, and a secondary, and we all worked together like the Blue Angels, like
Hmm.
these uh, well-known, fighter pilots that fly jets
Right.
in the air. They use communication to do such a thing. We did the same thing on the water, verbal communication, where my lead guide would get out in front of me, and I'd follow him, like following sound. Like if someone turned on a flashlight, like in the
Right.
dark, and they put
You
it
would
on their
follow the
back,
light. Yeah.
and I'd follow the light. I'd be
Right.
right in that stream of light, that funnel of light right behind them. And it's the same thing. As they're projecting their voice, I'm hearing where they're moving. And
Right.
so um, I have a backup too, though. I have someone behind me that can shout out to me and go, Steve, move a little left. They're behind me, so that's a
Right.
secondary guide. That's just a backup. But most of the time, I can follow very precisely right behind someone, even in the raging water, because you learn all the same techniques. Even sighted people sometimes cannot see what's going on in the crazy water.
Right.
They're just using their strokes and their technique that they learn to stay upright and to drive themselves through the water to get through the rapid. And water just takes you. It's just free flowing. It's life. Water. We're made of water.
Right.
It's such an amazing feeling to float in this ancient part of the world, deep in the canyon, um, to feel that hot sun and freezing water because it's all snow melt water.
Right.
It's really cold water, you know.
And dirty.
Um, it can be very dirty, yes,
Yeah.
because of silt and mud and
Right.
and of course humans dumping stuff in water. But definitely there's a lot of silt and muddy water.
Right.
Um, and so it was an amazing experience and something I'll never forget. This happened in 2018. It's world record setting, really, in the sense of five blind veterans. I was one of them. We were on the Today Show. It
Yeah.
was a
Name the other
remarkable
four.
experience. There was Lonnie Bedwell, Travis Fugate, Brian. I'm forgetting
Harris.
Brian's last Harris. Myself, Steve Baskis, and I'm forgetting her name, Kathy Champion. We were the five that. I'm sorry for your listeners. I'm not feeling well, so I have a cold. But those five blind veterans were my paddle buddies on the river, and we all traveled to New York not long after that experience, and we were on the Today Show, and got to answer some questions, about just like I'm answering your
Right.
questions, Ray.
Well, I appreciate you coming on today, buddy. It's time is up. Can you believe it's
I,
been an hour?
well, I'm glad that we had a lot to talk about.
I am too, and I'm glad I didn't have to do most of the talking. That's why I love interviewing you. You're just a wealth of knowledge. Uh,
Well, I'm just hopefully I'm giving people that are listening good things to pursue or think about,
right.
that's a big
And I
big
hope
big
it's
big
been
thing.
entertaining and they want to come back and hear more. And
Exactly.
if you do, folks, just contact me here at the blind spot 298 at gmail.com. And I definitely will ask Steve to come back again. So give me some positive feedback. Don't forget to like and follow and subscribe. Um, and if you would like to help support this channel on YouTube, all you have to do is donate through any one of those buttons that you see at the bottom of the screen. It'll tell you what to do. So, Steve, become a member. That's what I'm trying to say. And Steve, I appreciate you, buddy. And please come back again and visit us.
Thank you so much, Ray. You take
Yeah.
care.
You too. All right, we'll talk to you soon. Thank you
Bye.
again for listening. And this has been another episode of The Blind Spot by Ray Morales.